Hello and welcome to the News at 7, where we get to the heart of the day's stories and communities right across Scotland tonight. A bed-bound grandmother is told she'll need to move 100 miles away from her family to receive essential care. We'll hear about the challenges facing the social care sector and possible solutions too, also tonight. 3 men are jailed for their part in a firebombing campaign during a Gangland feud. And will they or won't they? We'll have the latest on the title race. Sheila is at Tynecastle.
Coming up in tonight's sport, I'll be live from Tynecastle, where Hearts could become champions for the first time in 66 years. But Celtic might have something to say about that. And find out about the project that's encouraging farmers to reap more for their health. Hello, I'm Sarah McMullen. Welcome to the News at 7. Hello there, good evening. When someone you love is reaching the end of their life, you often want to be with them and to care for them for as long as possible. BBC Scotland News has heard the story of one family from Mull whose bed-bound elderly mother is being sent to the mainland to receive residential care because there aren't enough carers in the community for her to be looked after in her own home. The Health and Social Care Alliance says there have been several similar cases over the course of this year. Andreas Wolff has the story.
Margot Baxter has been bedbound for over a month. At first she got help to move to a chair, but that suddenly stopped on the 16th of April without any warning.
They've said that the reason the service stopped is because it needs 2 people who are trained in manual handling by Argyll and Bute Council only to be able to move her. And since my husband Ewan and I are not trained from Argyll and Bute Council in that, they couldn't work with us.
This means that her son Ewan or Denise have to work from home to be able to assist Margot. They asked the council if there were any other options.
We can find her a care home. And I went, well, that's not a solution, and she's not going to end her life in Oban. And they said, oh, it'll not be Oban, it'll be Helensburgh. And I went, so basically you want to send her off to die on her own.
Several people here on Mull have told me that they know of residents whose care needs could no longer be met on the island and who were sent away to a care home on the mainland.
A lot of people are sent away. There's not the support to keep them at home. And it could be managed better. Bowman Court could be utilised more.
I spoke to several people who are or were working in the sector, and they told me that the community carers left because they were only paid for the minutes they spent with each client. But losing them has been costly.
They've got agency carers in it, which is thousands and thousands of pounds a week. And by the time you cover the island and all the clients that we've got, and they're just not utilising it to the best of their ability. So they're failing in their duty of care to these clients, especially end-of-life care clients.
We asked the Health and Social Care Partnership for an interview, but they sent a written reply saying, "We would like to apologise to the lady concerned and her family for the issues they have been experiencing in relation to receiving care at home services. Like many health and social care partnerships across the country, we have had challenges in recruiting care at home staff, and this has been even more acute on some of our islands such as Mull. We will contact the lady and her family to see if there are further steps that can be taken to find a suitable resolution to the issue." Since I visited Margot, she received equipment that helps her get in and out of bed, but it is still unclear to the family if this means they will get the help they need. Andreas Wolff, reporting Scotland on the Isle of Mull.
Well, Sarah Redmond is from the Health and Social Care Alliance Scotland. She joined me in the studio earlier and I asked for her reaction to Margot's story.
I think what it really indicated to me is just how important social care is to so many people across Scotland. You know, social care helps people to live independently, to live within their communities and to live with dignity. And it's care that we're all going to need at some point in our lives, or we're going to know someone who needs it. But the issue isn't unique to Argyll and Bute, and I think that's, you know, a really important part of the story. These are crises and issues that we're hearing about all across Scotland at the moment. And I think the main reason for that is that sadly social care has suffered from many years of underinvestment, and without a clear plan for the kinds of changes that are needed for the population that we have now and into the future.
So are stories like this common then?
There are too many of them, and the trouble is that they're not always reaching the surface. So lots of the issues that are facing people, just because of the nature of then the kinds of crisis that people are facing, that they're hidden stories. And I think that's what, faces too many of our members, individuals in the organisations that are working for them, that we've known about these issues for such a long time. And it's really important now that with a new government and a new parliament, that this is top of the list for us to be dealing with. Similar to what we've called for a housing emergency, nationally and in lots of areas across Scotland, we really are facing a social care emergency.
And so you're saying there a social care emergency. How does that begin to get better? What does that look like?
I mean, it's definitely investment is a key part of this. We can't continue. I think often what people really struggle with is in comparison to, for example, the NHS, which, are founded on principles that we really trust and believe in. We all contribute based on what we can afford to through the public purse, but it's free at the point when we need it. In comparison, social care is a very complicated system. There's lots of hoops that people have to jump through. The way in which services are planned and then contracted leads to the kind of workforce issues that we've heard about in this example. And also with the underinvestment, it just means that too many people are left without the support that they need. So investment has to be part of the plan, but we also do need a coherent plan for, across Scotland for how we're going to improve social care so that it better meets people's needs. And that is going to take cross-party support, and it's going to take national and local governments working together. But there's three key reasons why we need to do it. It supports people to live a life with dignity. If we invest in it properly, then we're able to provide it in a way that is about preventing problems from occurring and helping to keep people within their communities. And it is going to save us in the long term as well.
That was Sarah Redmond from Health and Social Care Alliance Scotland. Thank you for joining us on tonight's News at 7. We have so much more for you coming up in the programme, including the site of the original Hampden Park gets special protected status to mark its place in football history.
And coming up, after a day of showers today, more on the way tomorrow, but something brighter and warmer potentially next week. All the details come out later.
Now, could tonight be a history-making one for Hearts? They'd be crowned champions if they beat Falkirk at home and if Celtic lose at Motherwell. Any other results would mean the league title would go down to a final day decider when the top two, Hearts and Celtic, face each other in Glasgow. Well, our sports news correspondent Chris McLaughlin is at Tynecastle for us tonight. And Chris, what's the feeling there? Nerves and excitement?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite simply, Sarah, massive. I was thinking actually before we came on air that, I've been covering football for over 25 years. I know I don't look that old. You're going to have to trust me on this. Over 25 years, and I've never seen a side outside Celtic or Rangers lifting the title. So many people in Scottish football who follow the game have never seen anyone other than Celtic or Rangers lifting the title. Hearts are on the verge of that tonight, and they're well worth it as well because they're a side who have dominated Scottish football all season. The fans around here, as you can imagine, are terrified, anxious, excited, everything you can imagine, all the emotions you can imagine. They are going through that, but they know that they are on the verge of a huge, huge party. It's difficult to overestimate just what this would mean to Hearts and what it would mean, a seminal moment in the history of Scottish football.
All that football hasn't aged you, Chris. Of course, fans there and across the country, they'll be keeping their keen eye on events at Motherwell tonight too.
Yeah, look, Hearts have been very, very good this season. They are 1 point ahead of Celtic in the league. We know that the Celtic are playing at playing Motherwell this evening. Celtic also in form, especially after that victory over Rangers at the weekend. But Hearts had their own victory over Rangers just a few weeks ago as well. They have hit top form at Hearts, so it's very, very difficult to call. Celtic know they have to beat at Motherwell at Fir Park, and if they do, then it goes to a final day decider at Celtic Park on Saturday. Could be a case of winner takes all. It doesn't get more exciting than that in Scottish football, but a huge, huge night here this evening.
A huge night to come, Chris, and it sounds like some celebrations are getting started early there with the fireworks. Thank you so much. And of course, we'll have a full sports desk for you tonight, a bit later in the programme. But one interested observer of that match is none other than Sir Andy Murray. Although he supports Hibs, he says he's putting local rivalry aside when it comes to who he wants to win the title.
A few of my friends that are Hibs fans have questioned me on it, and I would say it's quite split between my friends that are Hibs fans, to be honest. It's going to be an interesting final few weeks now with the results over the weekend, but I still stand by what I said. If it was going to be Celtic or Rangers that were going to win this league, I don't think you'd be asking me that question. So I think there's a lot more interest in Scottish football than there has been in quite a long time.
Andy Murray's thoughts there. OK, let's get a roundup of the stories which are making the BBC News app here in Scotland today. A safety expert says the entire Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow should be the subject of a risk assessment to determine whether it's safe for all of its patients. Elsewhere, a large fire is still burning at a recycling centre near Ladybank in Fife. The blaze started yesterday afternoon. Scottish Fire and Rescue said there were still 6 engines at the scene. And West Coast ferry routes are expected to return to normal as the MV Hebrides vessels comes back into service on the Little Minch following repairs. Well, for more information on all of these stories, you can scan that QR code, which you can see there on the screen now. That, of course, takes you to the BBC Scotland News app, and there is so much more there for you. OK, well, in other news tonight, 3 men have been jailed for a total of 18 years following a series of firebomb attacks during a gangland feud. Marshall O'Hara, Fraser Stewart and Aidan McLaughlin targeted 3 houses and a business linked to the Daniel crime family last April. The trio are among more than 60 people arrested as part of Operation Portaledge. That's the police investigation which was set up in response to the outbreak of gang violence across the central belt of Scotland. Well, our reporter Selina Jackson has more detail for you now.
This was the scene at a carpet shop in Bishopbriggs after being set alight by O'Hara, Stewart and McLaughlin in April last year. The trio were acting on the orders of senior gang members when they targeted the firm linked to the Daniels crime family. The High Court in Glasgow heard CCTV footage captured O'Hara and Stewart emptying petrol cans as McLaughlin climbed onto the roof and started the blaze. O'Hara and Stewart also admitted setting 3 other fires within a week of each other at houses across Glasgow, Lanarkshire and Eastern Bartonshire, while members of the Daniels family were inside. The court was shown footage of them pouring liquid over the front doors of all 3 houses before setting them on fire. Lawyers for the 3 men told the court they'd carried out the crimes to repay drug debts. Judge Lord Mulholland called their actions sheer naked gangsterism. He said they could easily have been facing a murder charge if events had panned out differently. O'Hara and Stewart were each sentenced to 7.5 years in prison, while McLaughlin was sentenced to 3. Selina Jackson reporting Scotland at the High Court in Glasgow.
Now, as we were just discussing, it is a huge night in the Scottish Premiership, and I'm pleased to say Sheila is at Tynecastle for us to talk us through it all.
Thanks very much, Sarah. Yeah, what a night it could be here at Tynecastle. Hearts on the brink of history, looking to become Scottish champions for the first time in 66 years. But Celtic, well, they'll have something to say about that, and they're hoping to keep the title race going a little bit longer. Let's have a look then at the state of play. Hearts are 1 point ahead of Celtic at the top of the table, where they've been for most of the season. That means a win for them here over Falkirk tonight, combined with defeat for Celtic against Motherwell, means they will win the league tonight. anything else, and it rolls on to a final day showdown at Celtic Park. So it couldn't get much bigger for Hearts. Let's hear from the camp.
There will be nerves, it's totally normal. When you're in this position, there's got to be nerves for everybody. You're a human being after all, and when you get this close to achieving something great, it's only normal to have them. It's just about controlling them, but throughout the season we've dealt with that really well.
Obviously, as expectations rise, and we've been top of the league now for a while, people talk about mentality and how they cope. I think the facts show we're coping brilliantly. You know, the fact that we've got Champions League qualification already secured, but obviously we want to try and go one better now and win the league.
So a big game here, but there's also a big game at Fir Park, which could have huge implications for the destination of that Premiership trophy. Kenny Crawford is there for us.
It promises to be an eventful evening here at Fir Park. Celtic have won 13 of the last 14 Scottish top flight titles, and despite a turbulent season in many ways, the Parkhead side believe they've got what it takes to snatch another Premiership trophy. With 6 wins from their last 6 games, they appear to be building momentum at the crucial period, and the spectacular way in which Daisen Maeda sealed Sunday's victory against Rangers only adds more fuel to their fire. What an achievement it would be for Martin O'Neill if he leads them to the title. The 74-year-old brought in to salvage the season. The Northern Irishman's won the league with Celtic 3 times before, most recently in 2004. Bear in mind though that Motherwell have been a tricky and impressive opponent for many teams this season. They beat Celtic here back in December, and they're gunning for 4th place in the league. So it's going to be fascinating here at Fir Park, and I'm sure it'll be fascinating at Tynecastle too.
So lots to keep tabs on. I'm sure the crowd here will let the players know exactly what's happening at Fir Park. Well, earlier I spoke to Hearts legend Gary Mackay and asked him how the nerves were holding up.
Not too bad. I mean, I'm just looking forward to it. I mean, Hearts have put themselves in a position where it's up to them, and what they do will determine who wins the Scottish Premier League.
At what point in the season did you start to believe it would come to this night?
Well, I think the way Derek started out with the squad at the start of the season, the camaraderie, the togetherness, and the amount of games that they were coming back and making defeats into wins. And when you get a team like that, then you know you've got a real chance.
You were part of the team 40 years ago that came so close. How much would it mean to get over the line this time and banish those memories?
It just means getting over the line. I'm not sure if I want to banish any memories. You know, I loved the time that I played at the football club. It wasn't nice not getting over the line, as you say, but right now it's a different era and it's a different Hearts team, and Derek McInnes hopefully will be the man that will get them to where we want them to be.
What is it about him and what he's done in this past season?
I think just his man management skills, you know. I think we've probably got a bigger squad than he would maybe like, but he's handled them so well. I think Blair Spittle probably typifies that. Last 3 games, he's not started prior to that. He's scored at Easter Road, he's done really well against Rangers, and had another outstanding performance against Motherwell.
Your priority is obviously 3 points here tonight. Will you be keeping an eye on what's happening, or an ear on what's happening at Fir Park?
I think everybody I think the stadium will tell us how the games are going elsewhere, but all we can really do is affect our own results, and that starts with getting a victory against Falkirk.
Well, it's getting a bit lively here now. I think the rain's kept supporters in the pub a little bit longer, but I'm sure we'll see lots more of them coming over in the next few minutes. We've been chatting to a few of them about what their thoughts are on tonight's game.
Excited and nervous. Nothing's being taken for granted, but I can dream.
I've come from Boston. I'm from Edinburgh. I've been a Hearts fan my whole life, and you know, it's just the chance to be here and potentially do it, experience the atmosphere, be with loved ones. Yeah, it's going to happen tonight.
I'd like to rest knowing that we finally won the league in my lifetime, and then once we've done that, I don't care after that. We could finish 3rd every season or even 6th, I'm not bothered.
So that's it all from Tynecastle. Sarah, fascinating night in store, which could end with Hearts being crowned champions, or we could be back and doing it all again this weekend.
Thanks so much, Sheila. We'll let you head in to watch the game, and we'll see what we're talking about tomorrow. Thank you. Now, staying with football now, it's the year of the World Cup. And as we know, Scotland will be making their way to the United States after some memorable qualifiers at Hampden. But most of us won't be familiar with the site of the original Hampden Park, considered to be the world's first international football stadium, which now exists as a bowling green. Historic Environment Scotland has granted the site special protected status. Kyle Armstrong from the organisation joined us in the studio earlier to explain exactly what that means.
Got some really exciting news. Today we've been able to designate the remains of the pavilion of First Hampden as a scheduled monument. So that recognises it as a nationally important site and it gives legal protection to it as well.
So how did this all come about then?
So about 18 months ago, almost 2 years ago actually, the Football Square Mull, it's an organisation in the south side of Glasgow looking to raise the profile of football heritage. They gave Historic Environment Scotland a list of sites to look at for possible designation. Amongst that was the First Hampden football ground.
And for people who aren't perhaps familiar with the original Hampden, can you give us a bit of an idea? What is its place in footballing history in Scotland?
Well, it goes all the way back to 1873 and it's the first purpose-built football ground in Scotland, one of the first in Britain, and it's the first in the world that was built specifically to host international matches. It essentially gives us the blueprint of the modern football stadium that we see today. The elements there such as an enclosure, a fence around it, so people had to pay to see the game, pay gates, a rope around the pitch to keep players and fans separate, and then the crowning glory for First Hampden was the pavilion. Queen's Park were very proud of it and it was put there in 1878.
Yeah, because I was reading earlier and it says, you know, things that we take for standard at some of the football games now, like your turnstiles or your season tickets, all of that sort of originated here.
Yes, Queen's Park Football Club, their first home, and all of that originated there. So in January 1873, a committee met and we have it in writing, we have records explicitly stating they want to build this sort of world-class, state-of-the-art football ground for the time, and they did see it through. It took a few years for all these elements to come together, and the pavilion that it gave the club their facilities for players for changing, press facilities, but also boardroom facilities. It was multifunctional, so it was a really important space, and we're very lucky to have some of the remains of the pavilion buried. They survive as foundations, and also related artefacts as well have been uncovered.
And just lastly then, Kyle, tell me, what happens to it now?
So now we have it designated. In theory, it is protected for future generations. Hopefully it won't be touched. There is legal protection on it. It really underlines the importance of Scotland for modern football and First Hampden for modern football infrastructure.
OK, Kyle Armstrong, great to you to come and join us and talk to us about that on Reporting Scotland News at 7 tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
OK, now it's time to take a look at the weather forecast for you. Christopher Blanchett is in the studio. Would the weather like to make its mind up today?
I know, very changeable. And we wanted to change to something drier and warmer, don't we?
Yes, absolutely.
It's about 10 days away, but it will be coming.
OK, thanks. Thanks for the warning.
Let's take a look at some of our Weather Watcher photos that are coming today. Lots of lovely ones. Great picture there from Port Edgar down near Edinburgh, and some lovely sunshine in Shetland. Same too in the Borders, but it has been cool despite those blue skies and of course the showers. Really frequent. Here's why: low pressure is nearby and it is sticking with us through tonight and tomorrow, but you can see a little ridge of high pressure moving in for Friday, so drier and brighter, and then a weather front bringing some rain through the weekend, and then beyond that something warmer, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. This is tomorrow morning. It's a dry start actually through parts of the central belt and the south, but further north across much of Highland and Grampian, a showery start to your Thursday morning. Still windy around the northwest coast from a northerly direction. That's not going to do much for the temperature at all. Now, through the course of the day tomorrow, you can see those brighter skies through the central belt and the south clouding over, and then the showers arriving on those north winds. And because it's a northerly wind, it will be cool for the time of year. Afternoon highs 10 to 13 Celsius. Friday, there's that little ridge of high pressure moving in, so it should be a drier day for many, a brighter day. Lighter winds too. Still breezy in Shetland with showers and 1 or 2 showers across the north of the mainland, but for many, not bad at all. But again, the wind's from the north, so it's cool for the time of year. Afternoon highs around 9 to 14 Celsius. That takes us to the weekend, and you can see we've got a little weather front here moving west to east, generally overnight Saturday to Sunday, and that means on Saturday for many it is largely dry. Any early brightness soon goes because the cloud will thicken. There's that weather front bringing some rain through parts of Northern Ireland in towards the west coast and the Hebrides. It moves eastwards overnight, but on Sunday we've still got a few showers around. some sunny skies in between those showers, and the wind's now coming in from the west-southwest, and that sticks with us, that wind direction, into next week. So it's still unsettled. We've still got low pressure. That means showers and rain at times, but that general flow from the southwest will see temperatures climb. And as we head through towards the end of next week, maybe high pressure building, and that means some sunshine. So cast your eyes right at the end of next week. Friday there, 18 to 21 Celsius with some sunshine. Before we get there, though, still some showers, but temperatures on the rise. That's the forecast for now.
That looked much better towards the end.
Yes, eventually.
Yeah, eventually. We got there. OK, thank you so much. Now, a new initiative is hoping to bring bestsellers as well as audiobooks to some reluctant readers in a bid to better their mental health. Farmers face unique challenges and their work often requires many long hours, tiring hours, alone. And now volunteers are being recruited to help persuade them to pick up a book, even just for a few minutes every day. Clinical research has found that reading can help reduce stress. Jacqueline Lenny is a farmer in Orkney and now a so-called book pharmacist too. I asked her why she wanted to be involved in this scheme.
In this turbulent world, it's good for us all to switch off. So I felt that that was important for me to help people. Plus I have 3 members of my family that have dyslexia. And I know how hard it is for them.
And so, Jacqueline, because you come from a farming family, do you think that there are challenges, particularly when it comes to mental health, that are unique to that role?
It's certainly a stressful life, and like in every industry, there'll be people who suffer with their mental health also. So yes, as I've said, it's really important to have that health and well-being and the balance in your life.
And Jacqueline, if someone was perhaps a bit sceptical about this or sceptical about joining the scheme, what would you say to them?
Well, I've just volunteered. Ruth Ann Baxter was the leader of this pilot project. Royal Highland Agricultural Society of Scotland have got involved, and the Orkney Library, a terrific library in my local town, Kirkwall, are involved. And we're all here to support the reader and find reading material for whoever applies to join this pilot project. And I think it's just a great thing for everybody's well-being. We can all help each other a little bit.
And is that your hopes for it then, Jacqueline, that it'll go on to help people sort of forget about their working life for a bit in the farming sector?
Yes, and I often think of people who end up in hospital without a hobby. And like if you can read or you're familiar with audiobooks, well then, you know, that allows you to switch off, releases the monotony, and allows you to have some enjoyment while you're there.
OK, Jacqueline, well, thank you so much for joining us and to chat us through all of that tonight. We wish you the very best of luck with it. Lovely to chat to Jacqueline earlier. And finally tonight, Scottish sitcom Two Doors Down is returning to the BBC for another series. The last full season aired in November 2023, just months after the death of the show's co-writer Simon Carlyle, who died at the age of just 48. The dates of when the show will be broadcast are yet to be released, but the next season will pick up where last year's Christmas episode left off. Very much looking forward to that. And that's all from us here tonight. Andrew Black has your late news over on BBC One Scotland at around 10:30. We'll see where the title race stands then. That's all from me. Bye-bye.